Did you know the man who led Britain through its darkest hour was also a Nobel Prize winner in literature? And that he painted over 500 canvases, many of which are now worth a fortune. Winston Churchill was far more than just the cigar-chomping, V for victory signing politician we all recognize. He was a complex, contradictory, and utterly fascinating figure, and today we're going to peel back the layers of the legend to find the man underneath. Stick around, because some of the stories you're about to hear will completely change the way you see him. Let's start at the beginning. Born into the aristocratic Spencer Churchill family at the magnificent Blenheim Palace, young Winston didn't exactly have a stellar academic record. In fact, he was a rebellious and poor student, often at the bottom of his class. His father, Lord Randolph Churchill, a prominent politician himself, had low expectations for his son. He once wrote that he doubted Winston had the cleverness to make a living as a lawyer. Ouch. So what do you do with a boy who dislikes school but loves adventure? You send him to the military? Churchill enrolled in the Royal Military College at Sandhurst. Here things started to click. He excelled, graduating 8th out of a class of 150. His military career wasn't a desk job. It was a whirlwind tour of the British Empire's hot spots. He saw action in Cuba, India's northwest frontier, and the Sudan, where he took part in one of the last great cavalry charges in British history, at the Battle of Omdurman. But he wasn't just a soldier. He was also a war correspondent, writing thrilling dispatches for newspapers back home. This early knack for storytelling and self-promotion would become a hallmark of his entire life. His most famous early adventure, however, happened during the Second Boer War in South Africa. While working as a journalist, the armored train he was on was ambushed. Churchill, showing incredible bravery, helped clear the track under fire, allowing part of the train to escape. But he was captured and taken to a prisoner of war camp in Pretoria. Did he wait for a prisoner exchange? Of course not. This is Winston Churchill we're talking about. He scaled the wall, navigated 300 miles through enemy territory with a price on his head, and eventually made it to safety in Portuguese East Africa. When he returned to England, he was a national hero. This fame launched his political career, and at the age of 26, he was elected to Parliament. His early political life was a roller coaster. He was ambitious, brash, and not afraid to switch parties when it suited him, earning him the reputation of being a political opportunist. He served in several high-profile cabinet positions, including Home Secretary and First Lord of the Admiralty, the head of the Royal Navy. It was in this role, during World War I, that he suffered his greatest political disaster, the Gallipoli Campaign. The plan which he championed was to seize the Dardanelles Strait from the Ottoman Empire, but it ended in a catastrophic failure, with hundreds of thousands of Allied casualties. Churchill was forced to resign in disgrace. He even went to serve on the Western Front for a time as an infantry officer. For many, this would have been the end of a career. The period between the wars is often called Churchill's wilderness years. He was out of power and largely ignored. But it was during this time that he saw something others refused to see: the rising threat of Nazi Germany. While many British leaders were pursuing a policy of appeasement, hoping to avoid another war, Churchill was a lone voice, relentlessly warning Parliament and the public about Hitler's true intentions. He was called a warmonger, a relic of a bygone era. People didn't want to hear it. But history, as we know, would prove him devastatingly right. When Germany invaded Poland in 1939, Britain declared war, and Churchill was brought back into the government as First Lord of the Admiralty. The public cheered his return. There was a sense that the one man who had been right all along was finally back where he belonged. Then, in May 1940, with Nazi forces sweeping across Europe and Britain facing invasion, Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain resigned. The man to replace him? The one they had ignored for a decade, Winston Churchill. His first speech as Prime Minister wasn't full of false optimism. It was brutally honest. He told the nation, "I have nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat." This was Churchill's genius. He never sugar-coated the grim reality. Instead, he met it head-on with defiance, courage, and a mastery of the English language that could stir the soul. His speeches, broadcast over the radio, became the lifeblood of the nation's morale. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall never surrender. For the people of Britain, huddling in air raid shelters as bombs fell, these weren't just words. They were a promise, a lifeline. He forged a crucial alliance with U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, tirelessly working to bring America into the war. He crossed the Atlantic in perilous conditions multiple times for face-to-face meetings. He also formed a pragmatic, if uneasy, alliance with Joseph Stalin and the Soviet Union after Hitler's invasion. Churchill, a staunch anti-communist, famously said, "If Hitler invaded hell, I would make at least a favorable reference to the devil in the House of Commons." He understood that defeating Nazism was the only thing that mattered. But leading a nation at war took a tremendous personal toll. He worked relentlessly, often late into the night, fueled by his famous cigars and a steady supply of alcohol. He suffered from bouts of depression, which he called his black dog. He was demanding, often irritable, and could be incredibly difficult to work for. But his energy, his strategic mind, and his unshakable belief in ultimate victory inspired everyone around him. And then, victory. In 1945, after years of unimaginable sacrifice, the war in Europe was over. Churchill stood on a balcony in Whitehall, cheered by massive crowds. He was the man who had saved Britain, who had saved Western civilization. You would think his political future was secure forever, right? Wrong. In a stunning twist, just 2 months after victory in Europe Day, his Conservative Party was overwhelmingly defeated in a general election. The British people, while grateful for his wartime leadership, wanted to build a new post-war society, and they chose the Labour Party to do it. Churchill, the victor, was once again out of power. He didn't just fade away, though. He became the leader of the opposition. In 1946, during a speech in Fulton, Missouri, he delivered another phrase that would echo through history, warning of a Soviet Iron Curtain descending across Europe. This speech is often seen as one of the opening salvos of the Cold War. He also dedicated more time to his other passions, writing and painting. He wrote his monumental 6-volume history, The Second World War, which earned him the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1953, not for a single work, but for his lifetime of historical and biographical writing. In 1951, he made a political comeback, becoming Prime Minister for a second time at the age of 76. His second term was quieter, focused on international relations in the new nuclear age, and dealing with the decline of the British Empire. But his health was failing. He suffered a serious stroke in 1953, an event that was kept secret from the public and even most of his cabinet. Finally, in 1955, he retired from the premiership for good. He remained a member of Parliament until 1964, just a year before his death at the age of 90. His state funeral was a global event, a final tribute to one of the most consequential figures of the 20th century. Churchill's legacy is immense and complicated. He was a hero who inspired a nation to stand alone against tyranny. He was a brilliant orator and writer, but he was also a product of his time, an unapologetic imperialist whose views on race and empire are deeply problematic by today's standards. He was a man of profound contradictions, a defender of democracy who held aristocratic views, a warmonger who yearned for peace, a leader who experienced both spectacular triumphs and crushing failures. He wasn't a saint. He was a flawed, brilliant, and stubborn man who happened to be the right person in the right place at the most critical moment in modern history. His life is a testament to the power of resilience, the importance of courage, and the impact one individual can have on the course of history. We've covered so much, but honestly, we've only scratched the surface of this incredible life. There are so many more stories to tell. His wit, his eccentric habits, his personal relationships, and a deeper dive into some of the controversies that surround him. That's why we're making a part 2. In the next video, we'll explore the lesser-known side of Churchill, the man behind the myth. To make sure you don't miss it, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. If you found this journey through his life as fascinating as I did, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.